Yes, so it's just so nice to be able to like see your face and the news is out. Congratulate you like kind of in person.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm exhausted, like just from like all the good. Like it was so like overwhelmingly nice. And as soon as I felt like I stopped crying, somebody would say something nice. And then I would just be like, ah! Like I haven't cried like so joyfully and so long. I don't know. It was great. It was great. Everybody was so freaking nice, Melanie, and like the support, like you putting out the pod, like everything was just like wow, like wow. Like I just was like, somebody loves me, and I just felt so special.
Say it. They love me.
They love me.
You know what? You've worked really fucking hard for that, like that networking. And like I was thinking about this the other day. It's like sometimes I bet you feel like you're putting those TikToks out into nowhere sometimes. Sometimes you tweet and it's like nobody even likes it. And you're like, why am I doing this? But this is why, because people are watching, people are cheering you on. And when the time comes and there's something to scream about, they're there.
I got chills when you said that because it's so true. Like I got so many comments and it was just like people like, we don't talk a lot, but I've been watching you since the beginning or since Pitch Wars. And
I got a little shiver.
Yeah, it was that feeling of like you said, like you just feel like sometimes you're just throwing things out into nothing, but people are watching. And for me, like those silly videos I do, like I always feel the best when someone's like, that made me laugh. Cause I'm like, yeah, like that's all I care about. Like I just want to make somebody happy. And I'm just like, So
that's totally
it felt good.
Vibe. That's your vibe though. And I think that's why everyone's so excited for you, because you are a very generous spirit in the community. And I know I've felt that from you from the time we were friends. So I was like, I need to make this girl my friend. You do, you exude that. And yeah, I think it was just such a wonderful, the wait was worth it.
Yes, it was worth it, man. It was worth it. It just felt good. It felt right. Like any sooner, any later, no, like it just felt right. And it was funny because like whatever day that was, Monday, Tuesday, I don't even remember at this point. But like I don't even know what day today is. Is it Wednesday? Okay, so it was Monday.
Yeah, it's your Wednesday, my Thursday.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. No. Yeah, so like Monday morning, I was just like cooking breakfast. I was just, doing whatever. And then I got a notification on Instagram from a friend and she was like, I just saw the news, like in the publisher's marketplace newsletter. And she was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, huh? Like just like,
and you didn't know?
No. And so I was like, huh? And she was over there celebrating. I'm like, wait, what are we talking about? And then right after that, I got the email from my agent and was like, here it is.
Oh my gosh.
And then I was like, do I post? And she's like, you do whatever you want. And I was like, well, I better post.
Did you feel nervous, like posting stuff?
Oh, I was shaking so hard. And then like I posted on Twitter, and then for like a solid minute, it was just like dead silence. It was so bad. I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh no, like nobody cares.
Versus now, when I saw it, it was like 1,400 likes, like 1,000 retweets. I don't even know now, but like it must have been just because Twitter's such a vile beast. Like you don't know. You could like pour your guts out in a tweet and nobody sees it. And then one day I did like this random, like, how have I just seen Schitt's Creek now? And it went viral. It's just no predicting what's going to happen. But I'd like to think with stuff like this, when it matters, that like it just takes one person to see it. then it kind of gets momentum. But you would have been like panicking for that 1 minute.
I did. I was like, okay, it's no big deal. It's fine. It's just like, oh my God, no, my God. Yeah, it was painful. But no, but it worked out. Everybody was amazing. Like the writing community comes hard. You know, it's like the support was like hardcore. And I was just like, but by the end of the day, I was just like, who am I?
I felt nervous dropping the podcast episode. I was like, I hope it's all to code. Like you suddenly feel very much like eyes are watching. This has to be professional now.
Yeah, but it's fun because like we've just been doing it and we've just, you know, and people have noticed. And I think that's the thing is like all the episodes we put out, like the good we put out, people do notice and they do listen. And even if like we don't know, they're out there and it's just like, and then they show support and it's like, oh my gosh, it just makes you feel so good. So now like anytime anybody has any good news, I'm going to be the first one there to like retweet because I know how special it makes you feel, you know? So it's like a birthday.
You want people to cheer about it. But like, I think with the pod, it's like that quote, like your vibe attracts your tribe. You know, and that's the best thing. That's the best part for me. Like, I feel like we've just been ourselves on this podcast and not knowing what would happen with it. But the kind of people who have come and interacted with it and gotten excited about it are like our people and like people like you who are like, I'm going to retweet that. Because you need that. It's like, it is like a long, and like you've come to this point after all this time. And you need that. You need people to celebrate with, or it doesn't feel real.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just keep looking at you because you look so cute today, Melanie.
Oh.
You had your nice walk. No, you look cute.
Do I?
Yeah, I like your hair.
It's so hot and humid here. There was just like a storm. That's the other reason I didn't want to have my phone out texting. Because we very nearly missed our slot because I was off in La La Land having a stroll with my dog. And Angela was like, you know it's Eastern time? What's Lyssa's time?
Yeah. Yeah, she's,
and I was like, I need to be ready. I'm glad you think I look good because I just kind of threw on the first. I was like, that outfit I've got aeration for this humidity. But I'm still on the ground because our lounge room isn't set up because we just moved. So
well, you look, I mean, the background, your cool bookshelf, because you moved. Yeah. You're in a whole new spot. How are you loving it?
A whole new world.
Yeah.
I should have just done that in my head.
No.
I am loving it. And honestly, it's a bit surreal because as you know, we've been living in like this little studio apartment shoebox for like 5 years. And it's funny, like how much I just got used to, like as we've moved to this place came up, the rent is like, it's not much more. I can't believe I've been living in the other house. Like this is still pokey and small relatively, like the balcony adds on size and the fact the bedroom is separate. In our last one, everything was in the same room. And I think probably because we went from because we did that trip to Japan and we lived in a van for like 6 months. So when you've been doing Japan in a van, living on like a futon in the back of a van for 6 months, and then we were in my parents' like lounge room on a fold out for like a few months when we got back. It was good to move into the little thing. I was like programmed to expect things to be a bit pokey and small. I think if you went from like having a full-size apartment to that, it would just do your head in. Because there's just little things like I had a bar fridge for the last 5 years. Now I've got a real fridge and it doesn't freeze my veggies and it doesn't like turn everything to sludge. It's just like, it's very humanizing. I don't get me wrong, I love the other apartment, but there's just little things now where I'm just like, wow, like this is a game changer. Having a door I can shut to my bedroom. Having a balcony, I'm planting little herbs on the balcony. But like I'm proud of the time I did there because realistically at the time we moved in there, my mental health was shit. Like I had just had like the biggest nervous breakdown of life, and being able to move in there and just look after my mental health and make the commitment to writing full time, which is what I really wanted to do. It did save me that apartment, but it's an exciting new chapter, having a bit more space and a bit new. You just got the excited verbal diarrhea version of that.
No, I'm excited for you, honestly. It looks so like refreshing, you know, it's just like that restart.
It feels like that, like everything feels like a home. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to crap on my old apartment because it was magical, and for it just served every purpose I needed at that time. It was my haven. But yeah, there's just little things like we bought our first, like we've been married, my husband and I, for 11 years, and moving here we bought our first set of like matching crockery. We never did that. Like we got married young, so I brought with me like my like scrappy glass dorm room stuff. Then we got odds and ends here and there. It was just like something we never thought to replace. I was like, new house, new crockery. So, it's just little random things like that. And yeah, I feel so fortunate to have found this place where I can keep writing full time. And yeah, it's exciting.
Yay. I'm so happy for you. I love it. I love all your little videos, and like, I just love it. It just makes me happy to see you happy.
Yeah. I think it's like that thing when you've like, I was thinking about, did you ever see when you were younger or whenever that video about the kids with the marshmallows?
I'm not sure.
It's like it's like an experiment, and they give a kid a marshmallow and they're like, you can eat your marshmallow now or you can wait and you can have the whole packet. And most kids eat the marshmallow because they can't wait. Very few wait to get the packet. But I feel like I got the packet now.
I love that.
I didn't eat my marshmallow because we could have moved somewhere else, but then I would have had to get another part-time job. And anyway, we can edit some of this out.
No, everybody's going to be just as excited for me, or as I am for you, is what I meant to say. Marshmallows and all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's nice how everyone, it has made me realize like what a supportive community like I've surrounded myself with. And I'm sure you felt that this week too. It's so nice. Like everybody is really happy for each other's wins, and we just cheer each other on. And
yeah. And you know what I kind of found was interesting? I had this weird moment. I went into Barnes & Noble, which is like our big bookstore here, you know, and I was just like looking at all the books on the shelves, you know, there's just so many. It's just all these options, right? And I just kind of had this like, like it is not a competition. Like there are so many books, there are so many things happening. Like, you know, it's not like, oh, her book's going to take up the space. Like there's space, you know, and you know, more and more, there's more and more space for people of color and, you know, like, you know, all kinds. And I just like had this like second in the bookstore was like, how cool. Like we all can tell our stories, and it's not a competition. It's, if anything, like the more I boost you, the more you boost me. It's just like this beautiful thing. And if there is someone that wants to be in competition, like that's not the vibe I'm going for anymore.
Right? I'm getting like seriously goosebumps listening to you talk. Like it's because I just feel that so deeply in my soul now that it's not a competition. The quotes are just coming to me today. It's like that quote, "We rise by lifting others."
Oh yes.
I've always loved that. And I think exactly that. It's such a like limiting mindset that like you're competing with people, and it's so not true. It's literally just you getting your craft, like, and I think there's ears for every story, you know. That's what I'm realizing as well. My story might be like crap to one person, but to another person it might be just the thing they wanted to read this week. It might have lifted their spirits in some unexpected way, and that's what I'm here for. Bring a bit of light into the world, you know. There's enough dark stuff. And I think the more we can bring that little
Yeah, exactly. I guess I should probably like intro the podcast.
Please, I would love that. Go, my beautiful big celebrity. Introduce our podcast is going to go to new heights. We have the Angela Montoya.
I like that you introed the intro. It was perfect. Well, welcome to episode 11, I think, of the Publishing Persuasion, a podcast where we gush about all of our writing friends, our author friends, the people in the author world, the publishing world, and each other. It's a podcast where we just boost each other up because we need it in this world. Yes. I am Angela Montoya. Actually, the Angela Montoya. Yeah.
The Angela Montoya. Of the upcoming novel, Sinner's Isle.
Yeah, baby. Coming to you fall 2023. Yeah! I'm here with the amazing, momentous, glorious Melanie Schubert. Melanie, I am so happy that we are here together, just giggling.
Thank you, Angela. And do I still have shame about, it was funny because I must have been nervous when we were filming your episode because it felt big. It felt big, like the news. I was nervous. I was excited for you. And I watched it back and I was editing it. And I was like, momentous. I was like, is that a word? Did I just open the podcast with a word that doesn't exist? And yes, I did. Yeah. So thank you for drawing attention to it again.
You know what? That's what I'm here for.
Anyone who knows me knows that maybe because I grew up with so many Europeans, maybe we do say some words wrong.
Coming from the American side, we say everything wrong. So
it's okay. I'm owning it. Yeah. And maybe I'll coin a new word. It sounds even grander than momentous. Momentous.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good word, actually. Speaking of momentous, we have an amazing author on the pod today, Lyssa Mia Smith on the pod. Let me read her bio for our listeners. Lyssa Mia Smith writes stories with magic and kissing for young adult and crossover adult readers. She was selected for Pitch Wars twice, 2018, 2020, for speculative stories with romantic twists, and is thrilled to be giving back to the organization that helped turn many of her dreams into reality by serving as a 2021 mentor. She is the winner of the YARWA Rosemary Award for Excellence in Speculative Fiction 2019. When she's not writing or staying up far too late reading, she's eating all the best bagels in New York with her partner and their 2 young children. Lyssa she's the shit. Like, she's the bomb.
She is the shit. And I'm so excited that we're like kind of, because our last surprise episode we filmed at the end of last year. I'm so glad we're starting this year with her. Like, we've talked about having her on for ages, and she's just such another bright light in the community. And everything that comes out of her mouth, I'm just like,
Yeah.
Let's get that gorgeous girl on.
Hello.
Hi. Hi.
Welcome.
Can you guys hear me? Is this working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Good. So excited to have you on today. I've been looking forward to this episode for months.
Oh, thank you. Me too. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Of course. So you got your babies to bed? Everybody's asleep?
They are probably awake but close to sleep, so that's good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, good enough is always good.
Right.
That's it. That's
Their
the
thing
standard.
is like they'll knock on the floor, like because I can see up there from the stairs, so they'll just like knock on the floor if they have any complaints. So that might happen. We'll see.
But you don't have to stress. We are a child-friendly, pet-friendly. If it happens, it happens. Don't stress at all. A few episodes ago, I had the dogs running rampant. Not ideal, but
Yeah.
Sure.
Makes it fun. Well, let's dig right in because Zoom always, gives us a time limit. And I know we've got some questions for you. So I want to pop right in and first say, obviously, congratulations on all of your success.
Can I interrupt you and say the same? Because I believe this is your first recorded episode since you announced your book deal. Yay!
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it. It feels good. It feels good to revel.
Yeah.
oh,
well done. Well played.
Thank you. Well, okay. So now that I brought it up, can you please tell us all about this amazing book, your book, Revel?
I would love to. So, in my head, it's Revelle. It's still
okay. Revelle. Oh, okay. Good. Good to know.
Fancy last name. So, Revelle takes place on a magical island off the coast of New York City in the beginning of Prohibition era New York. So it's 1920. And it's sort of like a Coney Island boardwalk empire kind of feel. Like it's like a wining and dining, a lot of fun. It's a big party over there. And the party centers around the Revelle family. And the star of their rowdy acrobatic circus show is a girl named Lux, who is tasked with using her charming enchantments to win over the only bootlegger in town who hasn't sold to their family. So their show is in danger of going dry, and she's got to win over this guy who happens to be like from the enemy family of time travelers that absolutely hate her family and sabotage them all the time. So first night of the summer, she goes to charm him, and she charms the wrong guy and ends up charming a very nice, very broke tourist and his friends. And then as they continue to get to know each other while she's still trying to charm the bootlegger, they realize that their paths have crossed and their fates are intertwined, and oops, they fall for each other. So that's Revelle in a large nutshell. Yeah.
Sounds
oh my gosh. Yeah, that sounds like I'll take it now, actually.
Well, I think judging from your podcast, I think the three of us have very similar tastes in books. I think we like adventure, we like romance, we like zany, over the top fun too. So yeah.
Yeah, no, this is right up my alley. Like literally.
Yes.
Take my money now. When is it? Okay, good. When's it slated for release? You're early next year?
Yes, I'm early 2023. So we're thinking March, April. I don't have a date yet, but winter for Blazer&Bray is between January and April of 2023. So I just handed in line edits today.
Oh my gosh.
And I think, thank you. So I think we go back and forth next week one more time, and then it's officially in and off to copy edits, which is just surreal, totally surreal.
That is wild.
So was your Pitch Wars book?
This was my Pitch Wars book. Yeah. So as you know, I did Pitch Wars twice. So this was the year that I did with both of you. So this is, I think it's the 3 3/4 that I've written. There's like a 3/4 book between the two goes at Pitch Wars that I just like thought I was supposed to write something more marketable after Pitch Wars 18 didn't go well. Didn't go well in terms of getting an agent. It was wonderful in every other possible way. And so then I tried to write like a YA contemporary, and it was just really, really tried to like write something that seemed like it would do better. And I just fell out of love with it, and writing started to become no fun and something I dreaded. And so I said, screw it. Like, I'm going to write the wackiest, weird idea I have, which was this like mystical island off the coast of New York, and all these different magical families. And I just fell back in love with writing again, had fun with it, got it as far as I could on my own, got it as far as I could with CPs, and could not get my word count down. Like I knew there was something wrong at the line level. Like I would read a real book and then read my book and be like, this still is not reading like a real book, like something's stopping me. And then when the Pitch Wars wish list went up, I'm like, I can't do Pitch Wars again. That would be crazy because that time commitment is insane. But I was reading through like just some of the wish list, and I happened to see who ended up being my mentor and how good she was at figuring out what's wrong at the line level and all the other like doubts I had about my plot. Like they're getting along too well. There's not enough tension. There's this, there's that. And it was like an absolute wish list for what I needed in a mentor. So I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to do it again. I'll throw it out there. And then when she picked me, like it was the perfect fit. And we got this book in such good shape. And I walked out of Pitchforks feeling like, okay, now I have it. Now this is as good as I can get it on my own. And it worked out, which, as you both know, I was in the trenches for like a long time before that. So 8 or 9 years or something. So this felt really good.
Well, and I love what you said, like, and I feel like that for me, sometimes, you know, like something isn't working. So you try something new, but that thing isn't like hitting the, you know, like the heartbeat of your soul. Right. So it's like, you're forcing it. And then you, like you said, you almost fall out of love with writing because you're not getting that magic spot, you know, that spark. And
exactly.
And I love that you were like, okay, obviously this isn't working. Like, let's go back to what's going to make me happy. And then look what happened. Like magic really did happen. And now here you are, you're going to have a book.
Which is just crazy. Like people always say that when you just write what you truly enjoy, it'll eventually work out. But and I was not in a great place in writing land. Like my confidence was down. I had the experience where everyone around me had an agent, was getting a book deal, and it was me and another Pitchforks 18 friend were like, we both found ourselves reading like the same self-help books at the same time. And so we had like a heart-to-heart. We were both reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I don't think either of us finished it, but whenever I read like a self-help book, I get like, I'm like, oh, I get the point. And then I put it down, which is definitely not the point of self-help books. But anyways, that book is about, it's like the science of happiness. And I'm a psychologist, so I'm like very interested in emotions and science. And what it really talks about is it's the pursuit of happiness, not really reaching your goals, it's pursuing your goals. And that's when, you know, when the band is in the garage and they're with their friends and they are just like dreaming and grinding. And then they get the music deal and now they're famous musicians. They're miserable, they're on drugs, they're depressed, you know, like whatever it is. I'm obviously, that's the worst cliche of a band. Yeah. I don't write musical books. You see my point. And I realized the same thing in writing. Like I had friends that were far ahead career-wise than me, and they were just as insecure. They were comparing themselves to, you know, who got this deal, who got that deal, who's with this agent, that agent. I read this book and I'll never be that good. I'm not getting this marketing. I didn't get on this list. And I realized like, crap, like if I don't get this under control now, like my hobby that I love is going to make me miserable. And the like advice in The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck was really just enjoy the process. Really and truly don't do it for anybody but yourself. And so there's like for me and this one girl, like we were really stuck on this one part. It's Ella Montes, actually. She's a Pitchforks mentor this year. But it talks about how Picasso once drew art on a napkin and someone saw it and they like loved it in the restaurant. They were like, I'll give you like a ton of money for that. And he's like, no. And she's like, but it's a napkin. Like, you're going to throw it out. He's like, I did it for me. And like, I don't want to sell it. And that was it. He could have made tens of thousands of dollars on a napkin, but he did it for him. And I'm like, I'd probably take the money, I'll be honest. But I tried to write my Picasso napkin, like something that was just for me, that was fun, that was totally romantic and pining and love triangles and just like a mess of emotions. And that's what I'm trying to hold on to in this process. Like I'm trying to keep it fun. And so far so good, but hopefully I can keep it that way. I don't want to get weird.
I love that so hard. Like that, I want to just like imprint that, like tattoo that into my soul, because like the love and like, right, that's why we all started it, because writing, it triggered something in us, right? Like it turned something inside of us. And it's easy, I think, to lose that, because once the business side of things takes over, you know, it's kind of hard to stay focused, you know, because you're thinking, okay, I got to do this, I got to hit this, I got to do that, but you're missing out on the goods. And so I love that. Like I'm going to re-listen to this episode.
Totally. It's actually quite profound as well, because I think people go into it thinking that once they get that thing, that agent, that book deal, they've reached that pinnacle, that's gonna bring them the joy. But it's like the happiness, you need to be like kind of happy in and of yourself along the journey, because those are points, and in between that there's a lot of middle ground, and whether it's at the start when you're waiting for an agent, whether it's when you're out on sub, whether it's your second book, everybody like struggles with that, what's gonna happen next. Like it's the old comparison is the thief of joy, and I think you've just got to kind of, like you said, be doing what's true to you and not trying to compare it with what's going on outside of that. So thank you for sharing.
You're totally right. No, of course. This is something I've thought a lot about, because I needed to find a way to be genuinely happy for my successful friends and to be able to hear their gripes about the bumps in the way, and like not lose my mind in the trenches. You know, like my original CP is on her 7th book. She's been writing, when we started writing at the same time, just our paths were totally different. She's on her 7th book. I'm a year out from my first book being released. And one of the ways that we work is we kind of keep each other grounded in that way. We keep trying to say, like, for both of us, we love craft. We love seeing ourselves get better and better. So that's another thing I'm careful of. I'm trying hard not to set goalposts that aren't in my control. So even a book deal, for example, that's not in my control. It happened to work for this book this time, but it's really, those are business decisions. That's not something I can do. Making a list, things like that, not in my control. How many followers, etc., not in my control. But how good I write, that's in my control. So, and I get to measure that myself. So my goal is like, I want to be Laini Taylor good. She's my favorite. And I'm not there.
That's literally one of my goals. Like, and that there's not people like diss that kind of like holding yourself to a bar, but I actually think it's great. Those people are successful, they're doing something wonderful, like they should be our heroes, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason why people love them and why they love their work, because it's hitting like that universal pulse of like humor and intrigue, and that's why it's so broadly appealing, you know? So I'm like so here for that.
Yeah, no, it's an art. I'm all about like books that do. I'll read anything. I'll read literary, I'll read commercial, doesn't matter to me. But people will diss books that do really well sometimes. And like, you'll see the bunch of reviews just picking that. I read this. This happens to Sarah J. Maas books a lot too. People like rip those apart. And I love those early books. Like I really love those early books. And I think there's such an art to writing a page turner. Like the fact that she can get millions of people to read her books, even if they're hate reading it, which, okay, like whatever, they're still reading it. Yeah. That's an art. And I would love to learn that art, to make someone not put something down. And even if the words aren't as pretty as other people might like, et cetera, like that's something I still want to learn. Sign me up.
Yeah. Yes, that is good. Okay, no, because I'm taking lessons from you right now. What are your like favorite books on craft? I mean, tell me how to do this. Let's take notes.
Oh, you're fantastic. Please. I read your pitch in your announcement. I was like, oh my God, just like inject this in my veins.
Totally.
No, you're not. Yeah, it's that good, right?
It is that good. And I'm just like literally cannot wait to read it again. Seriously. I am obsessed with that world and those characters, and I could just scream about it all day. And you're gonna actually have to stop me from buying them from every shop. I'm just gonna be like, yes.
Every time you get a little emotional, you see it in the store.
I will. I think I won't be able to help myself like buying like a stupid amount of copies of my friends' books and just giving them to like specific people that I know will scream about it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so back to craft books, because I need to know.
What are your secrets? Your secret books?
I don't have that many. So part of it's craft books, part of it's not. But I love Story Genius.
Yes.
I really do. And my takeaway from that, like, it got me out of I started with Save the Cat, which I really like too. But Save the Cat, it was more plot based, less character based, and so like. I kind of switch with whatever I'm lacking in the moment. So I'll see a plot first. Like books come to me more plot wise than they do character wise. And I wish they came to me character wise, but I kind of end up injecting a character into a cool plot. Story Genius then helps me figure out like character arcs. And what I like about Story Genius is like the domino effect of it. Like each scene then causes the next scene. This is the other thing I use all the time. It's the creators of South Park. They have the but therefore rule. Do you guys know that rule of writing? I love this. Like each scene should connect to the next scene with a but or a therefore. And I guess occasionally an and so you're allowed to do. But it's like whenever I get stuck when I'm plotting it out, I try but therefore, but therefore, and so. And that usually helps me kind of find the holes. But yeah, I'm big on Story Genius. Then once it's drafted, I've been going back to The Emotional Craft of Fiction by Donald Moss.
Okay.
Which is, that one to me is more dense. Like Story Genius is an easier read. But I go through that one with a highlighter, and then he has a lot of exercises in there, and then I'll go to moments in my book that I want to pack the biggest punch and try to do those exercises. And it's really good on like the line level. So it's less plot based, I'd say, and more like line level based. So I like that. But the biggest thing for me is honestly just having people more talented than me around me and learning from them. Like and this is the cool thing about having done Pitch Wars twice, like and having friends who get agented first, like my writing friends learned from their agents, and then they'd critique my work, and all of a sudden they'd be on like a different level, and they'd help me get to that level. Right. And
That's
then
good.
And then they go and get book deals and work with these great editors. And now they're critiquing my work, and they're like, oh, so my editor taught me this, and now I'm moving up again. Yeah. So that's been the biggest thing, is just having people that are better than me. And that's the rising tide of writing, like if you're good to your writing friends and they're good to you, like you're all going to get better.
Damn, that's good. Melanie and we were just talking about this a little bit ago. Like, it's not a competition. And the fact that, like you just said, like when you're working together and when you're reaching towards your friends that are doing things, and then they can help you and pull you up, like, I just got chills because that shit is real. Like, that's good.
So real.
So real. And actually, our last guest, LaSalle, she touched on that about how Pitch Wars, it's like, yes, it's there, but it's actually just getting you in touch with those people. It's helping you skip a few steps if you don't already have that community. But I literally feel like I'm surrounded by Pitch Wars mentors now who are like giving me that real proper critique and holding me accountable to, like, this needs this, Melanie. Like, no, it's not ready. Like, I remember Para literally just being like, I think you could still fix this. Take it out of the trenches. You should try do that. And I was just like, girl,
that sounds like her.
Like, and like when maybe earlier in the journey, that's too confronting, and maybe like you don't even. We were talking about that last episode, how like sometimes you don't even realize like that those were those people that you encountered.
Right.
You might not have been ready for it, but like I think once you go through something like Pitch Wars, you are just like, you have that community, and they're like cheering you on and guiding you forward. And I'm so grateful for that. And I think that your episode is like actually really good timing with Pitch Wars Showcase coming up now, and you having been in Pitch Wars twice, because I'm sure that was like, it's a heart-wrenching experience when the showcase doesn't go well. And it happens to a lot of us. Showcase was not my day. It was not my day.
Well, I hear you. I feel for you. I have been there.
But I'm so fortunate that my community around me are like, well, pivot, baby, pivot, and cheering me on with other projects that are more likely to, go run with that. So tell us a little bit more about that, because I think a lot of people are going to resonate with that at this time, because some people do immediately get that through Pitch Wars. So it continues to get that reputation of that, which it's amazing for. And I never want to sell short how amazing Pitch Wars is, but I also think it's not, you should never take it as a sign that I know, like watching some of our class just drop away completely because like things might not have happened the way they wanted. And I think it's devastating, because they just need those right people to be like, keep going. It's not you are a great writer. This just wasn't your day. It's just like, so tell us sorry, I'm like.
No, I agree with everything you're saying, truly. And I think, people often say Pitch Wars, the real prize is the community. The real prize is the community. And I think one community doesn't form like as strongly, I don't think, until the showcase in a lot of ways. Like I know there are people who make instant friends, etc. But a lot of, a lot of the time you're really just head down working hard. And then the showcase is it's just so hard to describe unless you're in it. It's such a unique and terribly thrilling and also sometimes just terrible experience. Like, but necessary. And I don't know, people don't know it until you're in it. So, I keep obsessive data on Pitchware's showcases. This is like my thing. I should pull it up, but that'd be crazy and I won't. But it's something like
for it.
Well, that's been the cool thing about doing it 2 years apart is I can see what 2 additional years do. Like, so from our year, we're probably, Pitchware's is typically after the 1 year mark, about half are agented and half aren't. And what was cool, really keeping track this year, in my year, I did not have the emotional spoons to keep track of this. I had a friend who was keeping track of this and I joined her later. She, they got an agent quickly. I did not get an agent at all. And the idea of keeping track of other people's success, it just was like too much for me. But I know from Pitchware's 2018, which, is technically 2019, the way they label them. So about 3 years ago is that showcase. And I think at this point, maybe 70% are agented, 80%, which is, if you take any population of writers in the query trenches and you say in 3 years, we'll make sure 80% of you are agented, like that's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
The trip is that what I learned from our year is it's like 30% of that of people, I guess 30% of people are going to sign in like the first month. And that's the crazy part of Pitch Wars. It's that some offers come in so fast. That first wave is huge. And so it is inevitable that the rest of us are like, refresh, right?
Totally.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's painful, right?
It
Your thumbs, your fingers are sore after. You're like,
yeah, and it's soul crushing. It is soul crushing. So the first time I went through, I hadn't queried. I was very naive about how amazing my book was and how, even though, YA sci-fi wasn't, typically doing well in showcases, mine was different because like it was just so good. And so then I crashed and burned. And in retrospect, it really wasn't even, I had requests. It really wasn't bad. But it was slow that first day. I think after the first, by noon, the first day I had one. And at one point I had said to Hoda, who's now my co-mentor, but was my mentor at the time, like, should I just give up and never write again and just curl up into a ball? And she's like, whoa. Like the showcase day was not a good day for me. I was very, very, very sad. I cry that hard when people die, typically. Like that's where I was at, which I know to non-writers sounds probably unhinged, but you're both nodding very empathically because I think
the
this
struggle is
feeling.
real.
It is.
It is. No one understands this life other than a writer, and it's so hard to understand Pitch Wars and the feeling, the energy of that showcase. Like right before, I lost my fucking mind the day before. I was like, this is it. If it doesn't go right, I'm done. Like no one's gonna, I was just like having, like, I don't even know why. Maybe it's just this energy, right? But like I turned it bad, but instead of like hype, but it's just this wild ride you go on, and it's really hard to explain, like the mental toll, because you've been grinding so hard for months, right? Like you've been just digging your head in. You've been thinking about this damn showcase. It's like this huge, it's just like this, and it's just, it's wild. How is it on the mentor side now? The other side of things.
Yeah, I'm really curious how it's going to be. Like we're just putting materials in now. And the showcase is in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, I guess. So I'm nervous for my mentee because I know it's a wild ride. And I know no matter how many times people tell you, this is not the end all be all. The showcase is not everything. It is extremely emotional. Don't take anything personally. And also the day after the showcase, everybody's just querying. Some people might have more of an advantage than the other, but the day after the showcase, we're all sending out cold queries. Like we're all on the same boat until those offers start coming in. Yeah. So I'm nervous because I would love to prevent her from hurting. I think her material is wonderful. I think she's going to do great regardless. But I don't want her to be on that emotional ride, I think, because I'm so scarred from it the first time. I protected myself a lot better the second time. I had my mentor last year, Emily, tell me absolutely nothing until the very end of the first day. I was going to try to go the whole 3 or 4 days, but I couldn't.
Right.
I think when you work so hard at something and then you see it up in that website and it's the absolute, like all of these entries are going to be the absolute best they can be. They're going to be polished. They're going to be well thought out, and they should be proud of them. They really should be proud of them. And then the idea that agents won't feel the same is really, really hard to picture. And it's almost impossible not to take it personally, but it is so not personal. My agent didn't request me. She did not, twice. She didn't request me either time.
The nerve.
Both times I cold queried her after. Both times it like expired. She's at Triada and they try to answer within, I think like 8 weeks or something. It's better than like shorter than others. And both the first time I sent like a follow-up one, and before she even saw the follow-up one, she then responded and requested a partial, which was great. And she read the partial, didn't have a vision for selling it, but liked my voice and said, next thing you write, if this one doesn't land you an agent, next thing you write, send it my way. And I know we've talked about this in like the Discord in our group, our Discord being for like other Pitchforce mentees, etc. Agents don't always say that. Otherwise, they would just be flooded all the time. If they're going to say that, they mean it. At the time, I was like, she's just rejecting me a big dice. She doesn't mean it. And then this time around, she didn't request me in the showcase. I did not even submit to her first because I was like, she doesn't like my work. She requests me. So I went for a newer agent at Triada, whose list also matched mine. Lauren, my agent's, was a better fit. She didn't answer in the allotted time. And at that point, I looked back at Lauren. I'm like, you know what? She did tell me like that to resubmit. So let me like submit to her. And at that point, she requested the partial. And then when I got an offer, I nudged and she ended up being the agent I accepted. So she requested the full. And then, but yeah, point being, you know, the showcase isn't everything. My agent read my entry and was like, next. and then she and then she went on, she sold my book, you know? So it's
I love that. I love that so hard because it's true. Like I had a good amount of agents that requested from the showcase, but I didn't end up getting any offers from any of them. My offers came from cold queries afterwards.
wow.
And so it really is so subjective. And also, they're just asking based off this little blurb, right? So even it might sound perfect, but then they get it and they're like, oh, you know what, never mind. That's not what I was asking about. So yeah, I love that. I love that she didn't even say anything and then you end up getting her.
No, and she's good about, she always tweets about like, hey, just because I didn't request doesn't mean don't send it to me anyways. But I think I'm not the only one of her authors that she didn't request. She's got a trend of that. And this is something I heard forever in the trenches. Mel, I'm sure people say this all the time, how it's not personal, it's really about fit and what they can sell. And I was just like so sick of hearing it. But seeing someone sell my book, like the conversation I had with her, like she's like, I know how to sell this. And I know exactly how to sell this. And this was what my plan would be. And, other people were saying similar things. My other offers said similar things, but that was like, I had talked a book with her in the past. She did not know how to sell it. This one, she's like, I know how to sell it. And as soon as she had the plan, it happened very quickly because she had a plan. She had editors in mind. She like would vague tweet about my book and those editors were comment, like she had a plan. She knew exactly who would like it and she was right. Yeah. So when they say it's not personal, it's truly not, it wasn't about my writing, in past times. It wasn't like I wasn't good enough yet or something like that. It was just, this happened to be the book where she's like, oh, I know exactly what to do with this.
Totally.
And that's all it is. Yeah.
And I think that's where the persistence pays off as well.
Yes.
Because I think like the more you're writing and the more you're putting out there, I think eventually something sticks.
Totally.
Once you like get to a certain level of craft and you've got your team on your thing, and I think that's what happened for both of you, like you're just grinding nonstop, eventually somebody's like, once they found you, it is fire because you have all that backlog of how hard you've been grinding this whole time. And I think that's something we always like to debunk, this image of the instant success, which is so false. There is like, I don't even know if that exists. I can't think of a single example of like an overnight success that wasn't working for years or even decades to get to the point where they got picked up and their book went off, you know?
Mm-hmm. No, it's so true. It's so true. And even when people like, they're probably outliers if things happen quickly. Oh, it's my first book. I just tried this. And, but yeah, I think the uncomfortable part of all of this is that there's a lot of luck involved. You know, like I didn't magically become a better writer 1 month to the next. Like I have learned a ton from my agent, my editor. I think I've grown since I signed, but it wasn't overnight. Like not having a book deal, having an agent, et cetera, doesn't really separate. It's not how you can separate talented from untalented, if there were such a thing.
Yeah, timing, luck, like you said, and persistence. Like it has to be this, like all the right ingredients at the exact right time, the right agent who knows the right things. Like there's so much that goes into it. And, you know, and I think that's the key is persistence, because you're just waiting, you're biding your time, you're growing, you're learning, you're putting all these things together in the pot. And so, you know, when the time hits, it's like, okay, let's go. Like, I got this. And you're doing it. And like it, like it worked. Like you didn't give up.
It worked.
Yes. It friggin' worked. It's amazing. So once you signed with your agent, did you have to do some more revisions after that?
Yes. So in picking an agent, I tried again to stay true to my like Picasso napkin rule of anything I do, I want to do it for me. And I want to only measure my milestones for myself. And so it was like, okay, of course I want an agent who can sell and further my career. It's a business decision. And I go back and forth with like my writing friends about this, because they're like, make sure you're making a business decision, because they know I get so weird about like,
yeah.
But I wanted an editorial agent so that I could continue to learn. I'm like, even if this never sells, I got to learn. I won't do well with someone who's just going to like glance at it and then like work their magic elsewhere. I need someone who's going to teach me no matter what. And so Lauren Spieler, my agent, is very editorial. She's got a lot of opinions. What I like about her on the call is I'm like, what if I write something you absolutely despise? She's like, I'll make sure that, you know, we'll talk about it and try to figure out why, and then I'll try to sell it, because that's my job. So it's like, okay, I can still write what I want, and she's going to help me with the craft part in her opinion, but it's ultimately mine. So I also liked her because she's fast. She's very much a hustler. She is very much a hustler. So she told me, I can have your edit letter to you, you know, probably within a week of you signing. And I asked everybody this because I was hungry. And I asked her authors, and they're like, yeah, no, she usually meets her deadlines. I don't remember exactly what she told me, but she's not, because there are so many people in this industry who just don't meet deadlines. And she had it to me within 24 hours of me signing. Wow. And then we were on sub within like 5 weeks. We did like one. She gave me a huge edit letter. I'm like, this will probably take me 2 months. She's like, can you do 4 weeks? I'm like, like 3 would be better, so we get it out before the summer slowdown. I'm like, oh yeah, of course. We just, you know, not sleep. And then the deal I made with her essentially was like, I've been in the trenches. This to me was like paid querying. Like, you worry about it. You call me when there's good news. I don't want to know. I wanted the names of the editors, like, again, trying to keep a business mind so I could tuck them away somewhere. So one day I'd know who read my work. But I didn't Google anybody. I didn't look at anyone's Twitters. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start writing the next thing and just assume this is dead. And, you know, you can stress about the makes or breaks of this. So then one day she called me, and like the name came up maybe, and like it was like her husband's name. And I was like, there's a Spieler, or who, I don't know. I don't even think that's his last name. It was like a random name. I'm like, I don't know who this is. But I picked up. I almost never do that. And it was her. And she's like, so you have 2 offers. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, you have 2 offers. And I was in the parking lot of my grandparents' condo, and they're like 92 years old. And I just like, you know, burst into tears. Like Angela is watching her video of when you burst into tears after you got the call, and I just cried again, because I like knew that feeling. I'd lived that feeling of like, it is just so fucking awesome. Like when it happens and you've worked so hard, and you like, at this point it truly wasn't on my radar. It was like, I'd hoped, but it'd only been like 3 or 4 weeks. I wasn't on sub that long. I was very lucky that way. After 8 or 9 years in the trenches, like this part went quickly.
You earned that. You earned that.
I hesitate to say that.
Yeah.
So this was quick, and I was just like, I burst into tears, and I called my partner, and he was like, your grandparents are dead. Like I couldn't get the words out. I was like, I was hysterical crying. The kids are like, oh, like, are you okay? I'm like, they're happy tears. They're happy tears. Like they're 5 and 6. Like, what the hell is she doing? Like, and I couldn't get the words out. He's like, I'm so sorry. What happened? Do you need anything? Like, they're alive.
Oh my God.
And then I went in and like told them, because obviously I had been crying. I was late to dinner. You don't go late to Italian grandmother's dinner. Like this is not. And like they were just so not impressed. Are you gonna let it? Well, you haven't let us read it yet, Linda. So we don't know. You know, they call it. Like we don't know if it's good. Like, oh, is it gonna be? Can we buy it soon? I'm like, no, not for 2 years. They're like, okay. So yeah, that was really fun. And then you sit with this for a long time, right? Especially in YA deals, for whatever reason, they take months and months to announce. So, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
But that's something that you said that sticks with me, and I try to remind myself. You just kind of have to like let it be and like almost pretend what you said, like pretend it's dead or something. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like that. Like, I think when I used to hold on to one project and be like, this is the one, I have to keep pouring my essence into this. It was really destructive, actually, because you start to think that that is like your one good work, and if that doesn't sell, that there's nothing, which couldn't be further from the truth. And now I try to approach it like that, where I pour my guts into something, I do everything I need to get it where it is, and then I just leave it. Like, it's doing its thing, it's in the trenches, it's whatever. But I mean, I think as well, the COVID timeline is something that like agents and editors are not robots. They're only human. They might have their whole family down with Omicron, and the last thing on your mind at that point is like your slush pile of, like,
Yeah.
And I think that's something as well to take into consideration. Sometimes it's just life, agents and editors are real people, life gets messy, and the patience game, just keep grinding.
It's so true. It really is so true.
I think there's nothing more in this world, like creatively or work-wise, that's going to teach you patience and humility than to be a writer, right? Like that's, if you prayed one day, which it's funny because for some reason I was like, in my church days, I was like, Lord, please just make me humble and patient. And you know what? I think he listened, because he's like, boom, you're going to be a writer. So
success your experience is going to take a long time.
It's definitely an education, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Like, it's like a path that we've all chosen, and I think you're right. Like, there's some stuff no one but your writer friends can understand about that journey. And I'm so grateful for this community we've found. Like, I can't even think now of the time when I was like writing alone,
I remember feeling almost proud that I was writing alone. Like, I didn't understand the writing community. I wasn't a part of the writing community. I'm like, I'm doing this secret cool thing, and it is so good, because my mom read it. No, it was actually my best friend read it, and she said it was good. And I did, like, some people like can do that and create amazing work, but so much is learning from peers and sharing with peers. And I don't think we could survive it without it.
No.
Now it's every step of the way I'm relying on my writer friends. Like right now we're figuring out what book 2 is. It's a 2-book deal, and those ideas had to go in today. And like even the brainstorming, like there are people I call and I'm like, this is the seed of an idea I have, and they're like, oh, what about this, and what about this, and da da da, and like we just bounce it, and we literally create this world together, like this idea, these people. And then, maybe I'll talk to someone else, or I'll think about it tomorrow, I'll write it down. And then that evolves. And in the course of 24 hours, I have an entire like world in my head, and I can't have a conversation with anybody else until I get it down, So like people who don't do that, like, I don't think they can understand it. And it's not like they're lacking anything. It's just, if you haven't done that in this communal way, like we literally create things together just by talking. It's just awesome. It's really awesome.
I love that. I need to get better at that, honestly, because I feel like when I'm in the beginning stages, like I hoard it. Like, what's the guy from Lord of the Rings? the goblin thing.
Oh,
Yeah, that's me.
Goblin.
I'm like, the whole time. And I need to get better about like talking about the ideas because I get stuck. And that's kind of like how, so I'm going to reach out and send you guys.
It's really daunting at first, and especially because it's those new raw ideas. You don't know how people are going to react to it. You're still working with it. And I think instinctively, I remember feeling like, I want it to be mine as well. Like, I don't want your ideas, was kind of like my initial, how I used to feel. And I would kind of just be like, no, like Gollum, just like, my precious. And I think that's natural as well. And it's again, the more you like let yourself lean into the community, the more you realize that sometimes your peer can have this one little idea that might completely shift your whole book for the better. Like I think of my Pitch Wars book where my mentor Artie was like, why don't you make the villain his mother? Because it will give it so much more agency. And I was just like, this is like pivotal, like it changes everything. You're still writing it. You know what I mean?
It's totally yours. Yeah. And then you probably can't remember a time where that wasn't the case.
No, I can't his mother. So right.
Yeah. I think it's hard when people like write very biographically. And this is, I think, sometimes what happens when people are stuck on one book and they think they have one book in them, right? The idea of like only think like I've spent 10 years on this one book and it is essentially my life story. And then to have someone else say, hey, I think it would work better if like the villain was, his mother. I'm like, no, because my ex-boyfriend's mother didn't do that. Like it's just, so I think that's an area where I've seen people get stuck because they're trying to stay true to a version that they've lived. And it's really hard to then share or brainstorm or work around it. And it works so well in here in their head that then on paper, we don't have everything we need. But there probably is a time to be Gollum, right? To hoard when you aren't in a place where you can share it or you don't have that trust with somebody yet.
Yeah, so true. And I think that it comes from a smart, like a self-preservation place initially, and we've talked about this a lot, like where not every writer is like friendly. No. Some of them will do like the unspeakable. Some of them do try to tear you down, and you have to like get good at picking up quickly who those people are and avoiding them like the plague.
Or you could do what my therapist has taught me not to do, but I used to do all the time, is find the people that are bad for you and then like really try to win them over. And, like really prove to yourself, like they seem like a bad person, but they're gonna love me. I'll just be nicer. I'll keep reading for you. It's fine. You don't have to read for me. No, I'll just keep reading for you.
Sounds healthy. It sounds
better. It was great. It was great.
So I want to ask you, so you have a 2-book deal. Is it sequel or is it just 2 books?
Standalones? Yeah. So, and this was something, I had a sequel in my head going into this. And then in talking with editors, it was very interesting to hear from different editors, like, this is the vision I have and here's, and all of them said, I don't envision a sequel for you. And I was like, I think I need to listen to this. And I get it. The ending of my book is satisfying. The natural story that would come next, if anything, would be like a side characters kind of story. And I'm just not in a place where I wanted, like, for whatever reason, I'm just like resistant to that. So the editor I chose, Kristen Daly Renz, she really wants a totally different book, was the idea that we talked about. Like some people thought like same universe, et cetera. And she was like, what else you got? And I had told her one idea like back in our call, and she's like, sounds great. And so I was hoping it'd be that easy, but I don't know if this is truly, I think for some people it is that easy, but my agent is like, again, she's a hustler. So she's like, I want you to come up with a handful of ideas. I want you to pitch them to me. We're going to workshop them. Like, we're going to show them your best work. And I'm like, I don't know if I have any other ideas except this one. And she's like, yes, you do. This is a skill you got to learn. Like, and so we brainstormed, I brainstormed again with friends, etc. So this is going to be, they're going to pick, we sent my 2 best, hopefully they're not like back to the drawing board. I think I know which one they'll pick. There's one that's like a good natural like vibe consistency with REVELLE, which is kind of like deeply romantic and glittery and fun, but also dark. And I have an idea that's all of the above in a different period of history, because these are all like low-key historical fantasies. So I think they'll pick that one, but Well, I have no idea. I don't know if they'll tell me in a month, in a day, now, who knows?
Well, I'm taking notes because that's my deal is a 2-book deal as well. And they were like, if there's a need, if there's a desire for a sequel, like we'll explore that. But like they were like the same thing. The ending is satisfying enough that we can just leave it there. Because, you know, their whole thing is like the romance of it all. Once the romance happens, like, who cares? I had to think about how to like say
Yeah,
that.
I hear you.
So that's what I've been all throughout submission. I had the hardest time focusing on writing. Like I mean, I was trying and I had ideas and I was like, I would do really good for a little bit. And then I would just get stuck and I'd be like, who cares? and so now, like, and I had all these different ideas and I was like, oh, I'll just write some, you know, vampy, fun book. And then this random story kind of came out of nowhere. And now I'm like, oh, okay, this book.
Now you're.
And it's in the same vein, like it's witchy, it's magic-y, it's like all the fun romance that I just adore. But yeah, I'm curious to see how it works, like pitching, because I have, you know, different ideas. So yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes for you.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. And like, I've had friends who kind of like wrote their sequel and then their editor's like, oh, so let's talk sequel. And they're like, oh, here it is. And that worked for them. So I think it seems to vary tremendously. But with having it not be a sequel, it just sounds like we're in similar boats in that way, that's where they sort of lean. And something an editor had said to me stuck with me, that right now, because this is like the marketing side of things that we as authors never usually think about, and then it like hits us, right? Right now that they see a trend where there's a drop in readership in sequels, that maybe the market got oversaturated with like these very long, continuous epic stories. And so they've had more success with standalones. And I was like, oh, that's something I never would have thought of, is I'm like just imagining these stories, but good to know.
That honestly makes a lot of sense though, because I've noticed for myself as a reader, I haven't been picking up book 2 or 3 as much, you know, because you get the umph from book 1 and then it hits and you're like, okay, you know, and then a lot of times there's no book for another year. So you're like, by then you already forgot it. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, I guess they know what they're doing.
I guess. But agreed. I wonder if I used to think part of it was like, I used to read just so obsessively, especially before I wrote, that I would only pick series that there was like 7 books or something, so that I just go bang, 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 bang. And now I like pre-order books and all this. So now I sit and wait a year plus. And then you have to go back and like reread it a bit, and it just ends up sitting longer than I want it to.
That makes a lot of sense. Sometimes it's hard to be a reader and a writer, you know, because like, I mean, I live on audiobooks because I can do that while I'm lifing, but like, you know, it's hard to like get through a lot of these books, not that because you don't want to, but it's just like, where do you find the balance between, okay, I have an hour, do I enjoy a book or do I work on the book that I'm supposed to be, you know, working on?
Which you also enjoy. Yeah. It's tough. It's really tough.
That's the thing. We're like rereading our own work constantly. And by the time you reread your own stuff like 30 times and then you're reading your friends' books and stuff, sometimes I do find, I say I've been in a bit of a reading slump over the past years, but the truth is I've probably been reading more than ever. It's just my books, my friends' books that aren't published. And so you kind of get to, actually audiobooks have been a new way for me. Like I didn't tap into them before, but yeah, because you're like tired of staring at words on like a page or a screen or the Kindle, whatever. It's all kind of like your eyes just need a break. So I have been finding that audiobooks is helping me get through stuff. But yeah, it's that kind of, we are reading a lot.
It absolutely
We're just reading our stuff over and over and over and over.
See, I listen to your podcast when I'm like lifing, when I'm doing stuff. And then when I'm out of episodes, then I'll do audiobooks. But I only recently discovered you could speed them up, and that's been life-changing.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So because that was the one thing, is I'd find it a little slow. I'm a fast reader. And so I'd often buy the book too. And then at night I'd be reading the book, and during the day I'd be listening, going about my day. and I'd like just read so much at night because it was faster, but you can speed it up. And so you can listen at like 1.3, 1.4. And then now I'm like a good 1.5 now, where my husband's like, you can't possibly understand what they're saying. So like, I'm like, no, you like build it up slowly and then it goes a lot faster.
Good to know.
I like that.
Right?
I'm learning a lot today.
I do that with the Lagear app. You know that Lagear app that reads your word? What did you
what
got?
is this?
Angela?
Oh, I use Dream Voice or something. Dream Voice or something.
Yeah, you can input your manuscript into a reader app, and that's how I edit now when I'm tired. Because, well, actually, I will not write another book without listening to it read back to me by that app. And it's the same kind of thing. When you first hear it, it's like, I do not want this, said Edgar. And like at first you're like, I can't possibly get into the book hearing it read like this, but it's actually quite good. And you adjust to that slightly robotic voice. And I've also on that, I up the speed quite. At first it feels too fast, but when you do it incrementally, you can get to a point where it's like whatever I don't know what you're at, 1.7.
Something.
I don't know
like
what I'm at.
1.5. Yeah.
But yeah, it's so handy.
That's good to know.
Yes.
That's really good to know.
Oh,
I've done it on Word, but you can't control the speed and it's like a real robot voice.
Let me look. I have mine. What is it called? Voice Dream on mine is what I got. It was like $20 or something, but you can also add accents to them. It could be it could be a male, you could have female. They don't have like the accents that I have in my head for my characters because they're not British, but I chose British because in my head, it just sounds right. Everything with the British accent.
British too. I don't know why the other accents like kind of annoy me. Even the Australian ones. I'm just like,
oh, really?
Come on.
Yeah. Doesn't hit right. Well, Lyssa, I want to ask, because you are just so full of knowledge and you've just been grinding away. Like, what is, just to me, like, what is the advice that you would give to writers, to authors? Like, what's the thing that you always just kind of like stick to, like in your little soul when it comes to just writing in general? Just give me something. Let me just write something down.
I'm probably repeating myself from earlier, but I think for me, the key has been to make sure I'm still enjoying it. And that's been through setting goals I can achieve myself, that I can measure myself. And so like, I call it deliberate practice in my head. It's a psych thing, but the idea of I am deliberately trying to better my craft. So every time I write something, the next time I write, I want to be better, So the books I pitched are all a little bit darker, like the characters aren't so well behaved, like there's more cruelty, etc., because that's a good challenge for me as a writer, so I'm just trying to make sure the goals that I set for myself are things where I continue to grow, and then I'm practicing craft. So, and that I think that, I don't know if that's unique to me or if all writers enjoy that, but the idea of figure out what makes you tick, why you started doing this, because it's certainly not for the money. It's not for the work-life balance. It's not, there are not a lot of payoffs, except there's this absolute joy in what we do. And so if we can measure what that is and hold that precious, then stay in your lane and enjoy, and just duck and cover when people try to pull you in. Duck and cover to their own anxiety. Yeah.
That's it. That's the goods right there. That is it.
I feel like that's a very profound note to end on. I've got nothing better than that to say.
No.
And I see our time is ticking down. I realize another 40 minutes just evaporated. I don't know how long that episode was, but who cares? You said so much great stuff. I feel like this needed to be a longer episode. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. It's literally zoomed by, and so grateful for all the nuggets you've shared. And I know like a lot of writers are going to find it so, validating and inspiring on their journey. So thank you.
I so appreciate you both having me. And it has been wonderful getting to know you through Pitch Wars. It's nice to really have this conversation, get to know you a little bit better. So thank you for letting me talk about myself and nerd out about craft and my little mantras here, but it's been awesome. Thank you.
I love it. Can you tell our listeners where to find you?
Sure. So my handle on everything is L Smitty Writes. That's Twitter, Instagram, all the above. So that's probably the best place to find me. I think I have a lsmittywrites.com website too, which may need some updating. We'll see.
And then you're on Goodreads because I just added you today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's what I should be saying.
Yeah.
I'm very new to this.
Revelle is on Goodreads.
Revelle is on Goodreads. You can add me on Goodreads. You can even go to goodreads.com/RR2023, and that is where you can add me. Yeah, that'd be very
I'm gonna do that immediately after. And I just have to say that you can also add Angela now on Goodreads.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh, I get to do this.
So I just had to bring that up too. Well,
absolutely,
this is happening. So everybody go right now and add those books, because it's just going to be exactly what you want to binge next. And it comes around surprisingly fast, you know? It feels like ages away, but it's already been a year since we did Pitch Wars. Like that.
A year ago, we hadn't even showcased, right?
Yeah.
Like, and here we are sitting here talking about this stuff. It's very cool.
Really.
It's very cool. And I just can't wait to keep watching your career and watching all the amazing things you're going to do. So we're just so proud of you.
Thank you. And ditto to both of you. I'm excited for what's to come. I really am. And I'm rooting for you. So it's going to be good.